All right, we're going to get started here. It's game 2 of the TeamSpeak TL Open, number 9, GoOdy versus Naniwa.
Link engaged.
All right, well, it is game 2. The map is Lost Temple, and we have got cross positions. Seem to be the big position everyone's been spawning here today for the TeamSpeak TL Open. Number 9, we've got GoOdy as the purple Terran in the 6 o'clock position, and in the 12 o'clock position, it is EmpireNani as the yellow Protoss.
And I want to go back to my compliment of Naniwa that I was trying to make in game 1 before he so rudely interrupted me by doing a proxy 10 pylon, which is in TL Open number 8, we saw Naniwa get to the round of 4, making it through, I believe the entire tournament was a 10-man tournament. So he made it to round number 9, which means going 8-0 in series to get that far. And now we've seen in an 11-round tournament, he's actually in the finals. So he's gone 10-0. And doing that in back-to-back tournaments is ridiculous. Like, I can't even put into words how insane that is to make it through that many rounds. You've got people who know your name. They're cheesing you. They're doing unorthodox builds. You don't know who they are, but they know who you are. So this shows an insane level of consistency to do it back-to-back. And I think people need to know who Naniwa is after doing that.
I would agree 100%. I absolutely like that, and it is something to consider. The path that these guys take is not easy. Also, and I'm not sure if you said it, but many of those early rounds, best of ones.
Right.
So it is a crapshoot. You get a map that you're not necessarily favored on, or a racial matchup that might not be your best, and it can really crush you. But to do that 2 weeks in a row, pretty amazing. Scouts going out for GoOdy now. Barracks about ready to complete. He's got just the barracks at the top of his ramp. Here we've got his opponent making his way over, Nani, the Protoss, as he's getting ready to scout him. Meanwhile, we do have a pylon in the back, oftentimes used to spot any drops. You can also hide some tech back there. And the cybernetics core going down here for Nani. No Zealot coming out of here. He's now nose cross position, so he could probably hold it off. Might just wait for the side core to finish, get a stalker, chase out the SCV, be done with it.
And the probe actually denied at GoOdy's main base. The tech lab completing the wall. The SCV there was there to deny the probe. Supply depot going up as the Marine moves forward, going to take out the probe, which is obviously hiding at the Zelnega tower. Sneaky probe runs away instantly. So we've got the typical back and forth. Naniwa getting out a Zealot and going up to 2-gate. I'm going to be really interested to see what he does. We haven't seen his standard PvT thus far, and more so, I'm going to be interested to see what GoOdy does. He got kind of so rudely interrupted by the proxy 2-gate. We see first Marauder out, second Marauder out with concussive shells coming up. And this is a build I actually do, which is 2 SCVs, 1 Marine, and 2 Marauders with concussive shells. You can push up the ramp, and you can actually typically kill a lot of units, even killing a pylon, and then you can expand behind it. So let's see how GoOdy does against Naniwa, and more so how Naniwa holds it.
And he is not going to have very good vision of this. He's got his sentry far, far away from that ramp, and he's going to be able to walk just up concussive cell. Oh my God! GoOdy could have probably just finished the game right there. He's now backing off. Is there something that I missed in the main, or why he decided to not go forward with that? But absolutely crazy. Yeah, so he's just going to hold off. And look at that. There is the expansion behind it. He didn't see any of that. Really, I would love to have looked into his brain to find out, what was behind that. Command center is going down for GoOdy as well, and the factory, but I felt like he could have pushed nicely.
I can understand what GoOdy was thinking there, because typically with this build, you want to abuse the choke point of the ramp. So usually what'll happen is one of two things. You'll move up and see Stalker Zealot, in which case your 2 Marauders easily slow the Zealot, your SCVs get up and jam up the Zealot as well, and then you can take out the Stalker, or you get up and it's Zealot Sentry, in which case the force field goes up, you just sit there, force field goes down, and then you move up and kill it. But GoOdy went up and saw nothing of that. He actually saw nothing, So he's probably nervous that probes are going to be pulled. He'll get flanked if he moves up. He doesn't really have the area to deal with at the small choke point. So he's got a faster expansion than Naniwa here, as his orbital command is going up right now. So I don't mind the decision to pull back there.
All right, well, he is going to bunker up at the front and possibly, as you mentioned, not seeing anything there. Perhaps he was just nervous as to what could have been thrown at his base. Tech Lab is there on the factory, and a tank is coming out. We've got a single Viking also making its way out. Now we could be seeing a switch here. Command center is done. Orbital is finishing up now. He's just going to go ahead and throw a few more SCVs out and then expand when he is comfortable. He knows there's a Protoss force out front, but he has an attempt to make any sort of a push. Robotics facility also going down as more pylons being put. I also like a couple of units back here by Nani. Just protecting those mineral lines can always go a long way in these games.
I'm a little bit curious about this Viking. I'm not sure what it's worried about. Warp Prism scanning to deal with observers, phoenixes. I don't really know what that's point of that is, and he's actually getting out a second Viking, so rally to the first one. So I don't know if this is going to be heavy Viking tank or some sort of strange build we haven't seen, but you know, it looks like he's playing a TVT build, or even more so a TVZ build. He knows he's playing a Protoss, right? A little bit strange play here from GoOdy.
Well, yeah, the second Viking's coming out. He did get Siege. Siege is on his way. You see a lot of missile turrets going up here on the front. Of course, that can also stop the observers, which will be really nice because we have one incoming right now. He's going to be able to swing around, so maybe he thinks he's going to keep this expansion out of the brain of his opponent, but he is going to find it no problem as that observer just stops, and actually he hasn't looked down there quite yet, so he knows what's going up on the ridge. Also, the rocks for the gold cleared out by Nani. He's got a real nice saturation going on both of his bases, and we do have a warp prism coming out. This is going to be awesome to see what Nani's doing with this, and then a couple of gateways and a robotics bay going down as well. So what will he do with this warp prism, and will the Vikings spend him on?
So GoOdy playing with some sort of map hack or mental map hack. I'm not sure how he knew that warp prism was coming out, unless he's planning on doing some sort of tank drop, which is now what I'm thinking. He wants to load up siege tanks into the medevac, maybe load up some Marines and SCVs and take control of Nani's cliff. Nani anticipating that a little bit with this warp prism dropping on his own cliff. That's the only thing I can really think of with these Vikings. You know, Vikings going to be useful in the late game or even mid game to deal with Colossi, but we're not at that point yet. So let's move on. We've got 3 factories. One going to have a reactor, the other 2 going to have tech labs. Going to be favoring the Hellion tank play that we've seen GoOdy really like, as he actually puts down a 4th factory, and he's got all 4 refineries going to work here. Really passive play thus far.
Yeah, Twilight Council going down, as well as +1 ground weapons for the Protoss, and the thermal lamp is about ready to complete. Colossus is on the way. He already has one out on the field, continuing to shuttle some units up here onto the high ground, just as you mentioned, to stop a couple things. We got a missile turret blocking the gold. As he noticed, the rocks are down. Blink is being researched for the Protoss. Again, going for this all mech builds here. The armory is down as well, and we've got upgrades coming out of there. More Vikings. Actually getting a reactor on there, so probably start seeing the medevacs. Not sure. He could just continue that Viking production for the Colossi. And another tech lab on the factory. Continue this tank and Thor production. But the good thing for GoOdy is that, you know, he could just sit here all day long and be okay with that. You know, the Protoss is going to have to react.
Right. We see he's loaded up 4 Hellions, got the Blue Flame research, going to take the long way, flying all the way to the southwest, then he's going to move up the west side of the map. Meanwhile, Naniwa goes to build the Nexus, but you cannot build that on top of turrets in StarCraft. And actually the Observer, gets pulled back. The Observer almost flying into the missile turret. Going to get taken out. And, I'm not even sure that Naniwa knows that GoOdy is going mech thus far. If we go ahead and bring up Naniwa's vision, we can see, he is aware of the 2 factories, but I don't know if he clicked on them. You can just see the building outline of them. So he may not be
Right.
aware of the composition that he's going up against. And the Hellions have now moved to the island and almost surely going to move into the natural base of Naniwa.
Yeah, there is a cannon there at the natural, which will help out quite a bit. But I think you could do some damage here. Do these Hellions have blue flame? Yes, they do.
Yes.
Here we go. We will see the photon cannon beating away, but you see how many hits that takes. As now we got a Colossus coming out. Can he clean up the rest? Or will these probes just line up? Nice job by the Zealot. Holding him off, and that medevac not going to escape. He's taken out, sees the army that's there too. And actually quite a few probes lost, 65 for GoOdy and 42 for Naniwa, so quite a good attack.
You know, I'm wondering if these players know each other's style, if they play against each other often, because, you know, GoOdy is taking the island and there's already a warp prism over there, and that's just really strange to me to have your warp prism already at the island, unless you know you're playing someone who typically takes the island. Meanwhile, in the center of the map, we've got 4 Colossi out, which is the magic number for swiping down those Marauders. Chrono boosting out another one, so he's gone up to 5 Colossi. Moving down and gonna blink forward, getting hit by the that powerful. Oh, it's not an arc light cannon anymore. It's a Crucio shot cannon. That's one change from Brood War. And we've got the Templar Archives, Chrono boosting out Psionic Storm as Nani transitions into High Templar.
Yeah, which will be interesting to play against, with this particular army that he's got. Clump tanks or what. We're going to keep an eye on this warp prism that's in the back. But don't forget that even if it's there, he might be able to get some Templar in there, storm some SCVs, but the Planetary Fortress is in full effect, so he's going to have to watch out for that. GoOdy with a great little tank line here, and his Vikings out front, but he's not continuing that Viking production. And look at this, fighting from the back. Siege tanks are going to do some damage, but we do have a couple missile turrets, and I believe a few Hellions taken out there, or at least some damage is done. More missile turrets going to go up. He does have vision, and he does have blink here, so he might be able to blink in, do some damage. Nice job!
Oh.
Looked like he was retreating away. Beautiful move by Naniwa as he takes out several Vikings in that exchange.
You know, I think Nani needs to be a little better with his expansions here. He's got complete map control, but he's falling behind in supply here as GoOdy pushes forward, takes out his destructible rocks, and he's going to have access to his gold. Take a look at the supplies. It's 157 for Nani, 176 for GoOdy, so really needs to get another expansion up, in my eyes at least, and put down a few more production facilities. He's up to about 8 warp gates as he warps in 2 more, and continues with the Colossi production. Vikings going to move over to the eastern side to take out this warp prism, but no, they're just going to look at each other across the ravine. No, warp prism may donate himself. No. Okay, so they're just going to gaze at each other.
There was actually, I think that he got a little distracted because there was a drop at the gold. A few Hellions did get some probe kills there. Didn't get a chance to count how many. He had to warp in some additional units there. Looks like he's going to go in for another attack, but let's see. That dropship still has 2 Hellions, so he's going to have to deal with this additional harass. Has a couple of Zealots down there. Now we've got Nani at the cliffs once again, staying out of that siege range. He's just going to try to pop up. Takes a few hits from 1 Colossi, and yeah, there we go. We're going to have the Vikings taken out yet again, but look at the amount of siege tanks up there. Crazy.
You know, I think Nani maybe isn't used to playing against mech as Protoss, because you know, a lot of people know, oh, Vikings kill Colossi. Yeah, of course, because they have 1,000,000 range and they do well against armored units. But siege tanks actually do really, really well against Colossi too, because they clump up, they hit both the units on top of, under the Colossus, as well as the Colossus itself with that huge splash damage. So Colossus not always the best choice. He may want to transition into more Zealot-based play, and especially a Mortal-based play. I like that he's trying to move back and forth, blinking into the main, but it's just being completely shut down by GoOdy, who has shown no desire to attack at all. He's having fun playing SimCity as Nani pushes forward with his Colossi. A few Stalkers going to blink forward on top of the tanks. Thor's actually being taken out by the Colossi, but now looks like the Stalkers are all going to be taken out. looks like the Vikings doing some decent damage to the Colossi. Colossi not retreating now. Yes, they are. Supplies 144 for the Protoss, 157 for the Terran.
And he did take out quite a few. That Stalker in the back, who's just been picking away, is going to detract away from the attention that is up front, and I think that he did a great job with that. If you saw it earlier, he actually blinked a Stalker into the back, avoided the siege tanks, and that prompted his opponent to move his entire army, and that's when he chose to strike. Got a lot of time pre-siege there, and now he's doing a ton of damage, harassing this gold, and in comes the Colossi, taking out a ton of these Hellions. Blinked by the Stalkers to protect those guys. Don't worry, buddy, we'll protect you, as they snipe them out of the air. And that gold is immobilized, but don't forget, the island is set. It's doing well, and this fourth base, it's chilling up there, but it eventually could be getting some income.
You know, I take back what I said about Nani not being familiar. He's playing amazing, blinking in those Stalkers and then using the Colossi range from behind to deal damage. We've got Hellions going across to the 9 o'clock, 2 cannons up, and some Charge Zealots going to move in. One swipe takes out a bunch of probes. Second one not going to be that effective, but a few kills there. Just reasonable harassment. Could have done better, but a good effort by GoOdy there.
I think this, this tank line that GoOdy has, really, if you look at the spread that he's got, one of the nice things is that the Colossi are going to be doing less damage. They've got their ranges and their actual siege attacks spread out a little bit more. As a Protoss, you kind of got to be going, dude, what do I do? Here comes some Zealots and a few Templar, but watch this. Crush, 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 crush. They're going to go ahead and move in, takes out this front line of tanks. Watch out. We got some storms being dropped down, and it looks like we are going to see Nani just move forward. He's got to get rid of these Vikings. No, there are no more. What? There's only one Stalker. He is going to storm those Vikings. He does take out quite a few. Nicely done, but look at those Colossi just getting picked off one by one. There comes a bunch of Stalkers. He's like, thank God. And he is going to recover nicely from that, but he'll have to wait off. Or he could choose to push forward here before the siege line is recreated. However, he doesn't have a whole lot of units, so he's got to be careful.
Yeah, I think Nani's in the position where if you have more income and more production, it's better to trade units. So even though that wasn't the best attack, from kind of, if you look at the entirety of the game, it was really smart because he's going to remax way quicker than GoOdy. And we're seeing the effects of that now. He's at 191, meanwhile GoOdy at almost 0 minerals and 154 and still struggling to take that gold base. He's got the 3 o'clock, which he hasn't made any SCVs from. He's got 1 in a mule there as the mule falls apart. 3 o'clock going to be scouted by the probe, and, I think the traditional way of beating mech with if you look at it from a unit perspective, actually hold that thought, as the Colossi moving in, swiping down the siege tank, Zealots running right up, Stalker's going to deal a lot of damage, and Storm going off, killing a lot of siege tanks. More being brought from the back, getting stormed yet again. Colossi doing so much damage, oh my god. And yet again, trading the armies as well as he can. Nani falling in supply down to 120, but GoOdy also at 120. And that's going to favor Nani as his army gets entirely cleaned up. As I was saying, I think the army composition you want to deal with mech is going to be carriers. But if you just get enough income, like we're seeing Nani, I think you can do it. And look at 9 o'clock's natural. He's actually throwing down 3 robos. Going to transition into immortals almost surely. And that's going to be difficult for a mech player to deal with as well.
Yeah, I think that would be really smart at this point in time. He's definitely base over. He can handle that. Even his gold is almost out. Now, we are just now starting to see SCVs over here. Oh, nice. And Nani is actually going to bring out a couple of Zealots to stop this expansion from doing anything. Meanwhile, GoOdy actually, now losing that front line, wants to move forward, and I think this is smart. He was too far into his base to really stop Nani or prevent Nani from wanting to make some of those attacks. So now he's going to be able to protect his gold again. He'll be able to protect this other one over here, or actually what he moves over. But he's got to be careful. At least he's going to have a little bit mobility to those areas.
Production tab showing 8 High Templar, 4 Archons, 5 Archons, and 3 Immortals. And that is a beefy, expensive army. So that should be able to crush through a siege tank line. If it doesn't, then I'm going to start crying imbalance, because those are our heavy units designed to deal with the siege tank line. Meanwhile, GoOdy, doing well here, moving in with some Hellions. He's going to stop 3 o'clock. He's trying to get 3 o'clock's natural, and he's getting aggressive with his tank line, pushing forward to control the Zelnaga. So this is nice, but Nani, I think this is his time moving forward with Archons and Immortals. Here we go.
Yeah, he moves forward, takes out the missile turrets, but leaves one in the back. He's going to clear out all of these siege tanks. Doing a great job here, but is it enough? Yes, the Immortals are doing a phenomenal job busting through these heavy units. This one lone Colossus in the back is actually still holding on, and although this set of units will die, he is going to again take out another force of GoOdy, leaving only a couple of siege tanks and a few Hellions. Actually, he's got quite a few more Hellions as he brings 4 over from this expansion that was being harassed. And I'm not sure I agree with this expansion at the 2 o'clock position for Nani. It's right in between a bad guy, and generally that can be pretty horrible. A couple siege tanks just move up there, or a few Hellions, and here comes some Hellions right now. But no, the Stalkers in a role reversal here are going to move down and start plucking away at the SCVs of GoOdy in the back, and GoOdy is going to be forced to take those off. Hellions will move forward, but they're not going to be able to do much versus those Stalkers. Finally, some siege tanks come in. But the more important thing is I think GoOdy has finally established, his side of the map, but hold the phone. Look where Nani's going.
That's a lot of Colossi. Good God, as he moves in towards the undefended area of GoOdy's base. Stalker's going to move up, almost surely going to blink up into the main ground. This is where Mech really falters, is how immobile it is. So difficult to meet the tanks back. He basically one-shots the factory, moving in, crushing through the Hellions. Tank's going to be able to fire from the low ground, actually. But one Colossus gets taken out. But the Colossus able to move down. He's actually targeting the production facilities, and I love this by Naniwa. Gonna take out any stray tanks. It's so difficult to move your mech army back and forth. So as GoOdy tries to expand, get more presence on the map, he just gets slapped back. GoOdy trying to come back into his base with some Thors, and those are just getting crushed so quickly. Stalkers and Colossi doing so much damage against mech. GoOdy may lose the game right here, actually.
I think you're right. There it is. GG. Production is no more, and it's not enough. He knows that he cannot reinforce that army. He knows that he has nothing to go up against these 7 Colossi that are just laser beam of deathing the hell out of his base. And that was it. I mean, you saw how many units he killed just coming out of those factories. He also brought all his units up the ramp and then did not siege his tanks, which I think was kind of a mistake. But he could have maybe sieged that back line and done a little bit of damage there. But I think he knew he was in trouble. Great move, and great way of exploiting the fact that, GoOdy was where he wanted to be to protect his expansions, but because he was so slow, it was a perfect attack from Naniwa.